to the Indie Wrestling Guy with your hosts, the Hall of Fame referee, JHawk, the not-so-mysterious benefactor, Jay Gold, and the legendary Charly Butters.
Oh, it's the new year. How about that?
Happy New Year.
Hopefully this year is better than last year ended for me. My grandma went into the hospital with pneumonia. We had a bad windstorm and a giant tree branch fell out of the air off of a tree and went through a portion of the back of our roof.
Oh, Jay.
Luckily, it was like right by the edge. And so it didn't really damage anything in the house. It damaged like the edge of the roof. So like it's nothing major, but like what a 1-2 just fuck you on a Monday. Like, God damn it.
I mean, obviously, by the time the air, it'll be a different update. But how is your grandma doing?
They gave her a breathing treatment and stuff, and she's doing good now. But like, I had to call 911 because she was sitting in her chair, and she's like, her shoulders were like, she just could not catch her breath. It was bad. Like her blood oxygen was at 83 when they put the thing on her when they got there. So it was needed, and they gave her breathing treatment and oxygen, and she was like fine when I was there this afternoon. So it's like they're giving her antibiotics, stuff like that. Keep her a couple days. She should be home and be back to normal. So
good.
Yeah, she went in with she didn't have pneumonia or any lung issues going in. She came out with all this shit. Like she got it there, which pisses me off. Like the fuck. Jay Gold, you've been awful silent. What's going on? Oh, that's right. He's with the family in the Finger Lakes. It was very important that he go to the Finger Lakes this weekend.
Family come first.
Sure. Why not? Yeah, that's what we'll say.
Really,
everybody shame Jay Gold on Twitter for not doing his job and being on this show. Now I don't know if we're gonna get the full rate for having some guy named John on from his publisher because not all of us are here. Messing it all up. God damn it. I like that you got your plaques up though. That's nice. They can't see it, but I can see it. And your room doesn't look like a sex dungeon as much anymore. Now maybe take down the sex swing and the chains off the walls and it won't be so bad. I
am not taking down that sex swing. What am I going to do when the hooker come over?
You just put your dog in it. That's all you do. I know you.
I kind of fucking play along with you, and that's where you go with it, really?
Oh, hey, at least I didn't call your wife a dog this time. Jeez, I'm getting better about it. Fuck.
Oh, boy.
I want to see what kind of hookers you're bringing over from Warren. Jesus Christ. They look like your brother with a wig.
God, I hope not.
That'll be for like the handful of people that know your brother and know you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw it out there that I don't necessarily mind bigger women, but even I have limit.
Oh shit! Shout outs! Shout out to Zach, to the good old bagel monger, and of course, shout out to Patty.
Hey, Patty.
I've been keeping her in the loop with everything the last couple of days. She's been asking about Graham, so. Yeah, that's my what I've been doing. That and I've been playing a shit ton of Far Cry 6. So I got it for Christmas, and that's what I've been playing.
I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3, but I realized that I basically bought it on like release day and never played it.
Smart.
And now I'm like pretty much like close to the final battle, and the same thing in fucking Final Fantasy 7, where there's like 20 goddamn final battles without a save point. And I'm getting pissed.
Oh, I guess we could talk about what we did this last weekend on the 28th.
Yeah.
You popped your Enjoy cherry.
I did.
You and Will. I took you and Will down to Pittsburgh, to Millville, and we got to enjoy wrestling. And it was a really nice time. It was a really fun show.
Cannot wait to see how it looks on YouTube when it drops.
Oh, it's going to look gorgeous. I keep seeing like clips of stuff, and it looks, the cameras and stuff they use to just make everything look so good. The ending angle was absolutely crazy. Mikey's match was absolutely crazy. I loved it. There was some the tag title match was fucking awesome. There was a lot of good stuff on this show.
Yeah, They open with Mikey and Tony Deppen, and I feel almost felt bad for King to the District and the Runway having to like immediately follow it, but they did something completely different and had a great match too.
Oh yeah, the crowd was super over for Runway. Runway have become faces now, it seems, and the crowd loves them, and it's really entertaining to see them go from being heels to being faces now. So it was a real good time. I'm glad you guys got to do it. You got to participate in the $15 loaded French fry craze from Mr. Smalls.
Those fries are really good, but no French fries worth $15. I'm just.
And you had a couple drinks, and you said they used top shelf vodka in your rum in your drink, right?
Yes.
And you were you said you could taste the Coke. It was all rum. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would not throw with an $8 rum and Coke with how little I got with it, but I couldn't taste the Coke in fairness, so I can't argue too much.
yeah, it was a tiny cup, but it was mostly rum. So you had a beer, and I think you were feeling it a little bit.
Not fine.
Not crazy. No. Yeah, you were fine, but it was like you could tell you were loosened up by the end. It was a good time.
Yeah, a couple of drinks when you're driving, and an hour and a half when I'm going to get back to my car.
Yep.
Just enough to where my sheet order tasted really fucking good.
Good, nice. We also gave out the plaques to Mikey and Toddy for their commentator of the year and wrestler of the year. So those pictures should be up. JHawk got his. Those pictures up on our Instagram. So lots of fun stuff coming out this weekend.
And up on my wall here.
Yes, right next to one of the chains from in the sex dungeon there.
I got to get people in the mood when they come over, you know.
What's on this weekend?
All right, and I'm looking at the Triller kind of thing, and I've got nothing. I'm literally there's nothing as far as live go. I get if you want to watch, I get I'll plug Wrestle Kingdom. You got on Triller on pay-per-view, but honestly, I don't consider that an indie. No.
Yeah, no.
That's pretty much what Triller got.
Well, I got a couple things over on IWTV I guess we could talk about. So Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we have ICW Pit Fighter X20. And on that card, we have, let's see here, Hoodfoot versus Tommy Vendetta, the Bev versus Gary J, and for the American Deathmatch World Championship, Atticus Cogar defending against Tank. And then the next night we have ICW No Holds Barred Volume 68, Saturday, January 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern. On that one, we have The Pillars versus KOBK, Hoodfoot versus Nathan Mowry, Dale Patricks versus Dr. Redacted, Tank versus Manders, number one contendership, Otis Cogar against the Bev, and the American Deathmatch Championship, Atticus Cogar defending against Cody Manhorn. I'm assuming that if Atticus loses, they'll flip him and Manders and all them around. So that's what's on IWTV for the week. Let's get our guest in here and start talking about The Empty Tag Rope by some guy named John.
Interviewing.
All right, this week we were paid $600 to have this gentleman join us from his publisher to talk about his new book that we don't know when it comes out. He has the only copy in existence right now.
There are plenty of copies.
Are they in a warehouse somewhere?
They're at a reputable bookstore.
A reputable bookstore.
All reputable bookstores.
All reputable bookstores. Are you sure that they're not where the Ark of the Covenant is in Indiana Jones?
I just think people are shopping at the wrong spots. They sell out fast. People try to bug me for copies. It's the hottest seller of the holidays. I can't wait to get a second book out because we are rolling in money right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week our guest is some guy named John.
Yeah, I will work at Barnes & Noble looking for the book, and it is not there. So
they're not reputable. They're not.
I didn't say reputable.
I heard that there is still a Book Nook somewhere out there that may carry copies of it.
The few B. Daltons that are left have been big sellers of the Empty Tag Rope. Huge in the German markets. You know, we know we're popular.
If there's any Borders out there, they may still be carried at Borders.
You know, we could probably help them copy of that book, Norway.
Norway. Yeah, we're big in Norway, so you will be a household name after this interview. So, obviously, we got to talk about your name because it's a very interesting name. It's just John, some guy named John. What is the worst wrestling name you ever heard that is not your name?
Oh, not my name. Okay. You had to take it out. Man, I don't want to get personal because I haven't seen him in 10 years. I hate the. Oh man, I don't want to. I hate DJ Hyde's name.
Okay.
Fucking hate it. So we'll go with DJ Hyde. Let's just say that one.
That's fair. That's fair.
There's nothing. Well, you can't use DJ even if you spell it out unless you're an actual DJ, and that guy is no DJ.
That's fair.
There's a story there about how CZW contacted us to do a podcast angle with some of their talent, and we refused. I trained once in my 20s, and it was with CZW, and that is why I stopped training until I got to 880 Wrestling. Too many DJ Hyde lariats, right?
Yeah, it was a very different time, a very different life experience. Just not the culture I was kind of looking for in pro wrestling. Didn't really find my people there. I feel like CZW is not going to have that type of culture or style or like people that would like that you would see at like 880. Like 880 is a whole different vibe than anything I've ever seen. Like they don't fit with like what I would consider what CZW would like be getting people for. So that makes sense. I was kind of looking for what I found in 880 at CZW, like, and I literally mean like a decade ago, maybe longer at this point. It was a long time. So I don't want to speak too ill on anyone since it was a lifetime ago, but it was just a very different experience. At the time, they were in Philly. They were in a little shack. So like physically, lots of similarities, but just a totally different vibe. Not nearly as welcoming. You definitely felt like the green kid when you were there. Speaking of working in Philly and doing stuff like that, I was going to actually bring up, did you backyard wrestle? No, I did not. I was always really into wrestling. Since I was like a small child, as a baby, my mom used to put Glow on for me. Like literally that's been like my soothing thing. I didn't really try to get into it until I got back to Philly after college. Did the short stint training with CZW, but never even really had a match. I was there from off and on during 6-month period. Got to do some cool ring crews, meet some great people, but I never actually got into the actual working part of it. It was just like the wrestling world. Right on.
Kind of circling back to, you're talking about basically being a lifelong wrestling fan. Who were some of your favorites growing up?
So I can kind of recite them all from memory in order if I have to. When I was a child, it was Ultimate Warrior. I was a big Warrior mark. Definitely faded out of that one fast. Then got really into HBK. I remember that by the time he was feuding with Bret Hart, that was a sore subject between me and my cousins because I was just like, nah, it's all Team HBK. I love the Heartbreak Kid. I was a big Rockers fan as a kid, so I think I just went, all right, screw Jannetty. Shawn Michaels threw him through a window. He's gone. I got Shawn now. And then it got a little more eclectic. I got really into the Road Dogg. The Road Dogg was definitely my favorite wrestler somehow for a very long time.
When he was the roadie or when he was in the tag team with Billy Gunn?
I will say it was New Age Outlaws Road Dogg. Okay. It was New Age Outlaws Road Dogg. I was not into the roadie, though I actually am obsessed with the Jeff Jarrett roadie angle.
That never actually happened because they both went fuck thick and walked out.
Well, I love the idea of him having this. I mean, Empty Time Group is a real book. It's great. But I love the idea of there being this song that, is this mega hit. And it's just like, oh, yeah, he actually sung it. It was just so good. Loved it. And after that, I guess my taste went a little more erratic. Like I was really into the Hurricane, like obsessed maybe if you ask some of my old friends. And Edge was a big one my entire time. And then as I got older, I was really into CM Punk. I used to wear all the straight edge shirts when I was at parties, and they'd be like, oh, you're straight edge and drinking a beer. That's super weird. I'm like, no, wrestling shirt. It's wrestling. So it changes every few years. That's how I go with music. I tend to like get into something, watch it a lot, listen to it a lot, burn myself out on it, and then move on to the next one. So I do think my favorite wrestler isn't very linear. It definitely morphs every couple of years or so.
And was there a particular match that made you think, this is what I want to do?
Oh, almost any. I didn't name them earlier, but a lot of it goes down to Christian Cage. Christian's matches have always been some of my favorites, especially his TNA stuff. A specific one, because I'm a big story guy. Obviously, I don't go for flips and whatnot. I asked for a microphone during my entrance because I just love that every match had a story. So Jericho versus Christian at WrestleMania with that Trish Stratus twist, that was always a really big one for me. Just like, I love that soap operatic term because, like, for matches, especially not in the main event, because I feel like when I watch a boring wrestling show, the problem is very rarely that they didn't build a proper main event. It's that undercard has no reason for me to care about any of the matches. And sometimes I may have seen them a dozen times or more. So I was always drawn to those storylines, like however small or big, like Molly Holly and Spike Dudley was another one I just loved. I was just like, yes, this is my type of wrestling. And I think I've always been drawn to those really almost smaller stories that happen on the wayside than the big stuff. I think that when Shield was coming up was right when I did that first bout of training. So I really got into it after that. And I think I was like obsessed with just analyzing matches. So a lot of those early Shield matches, especially when they broke up and Ambrose and Rollins were doing like those just that cool, was it a lumberjack match where they spent the whole time in the audience, just like subverting the expectation of a lumberjack match. I love that. Like, if you're going to put on a match, I don't want it to be the match that I've seen 20 million times.
Yeah, I've only seen a man face another man in a banana suit a few times. So
I've only done it a few times.
only a few.
Really my most popular match. Like, that one blew up on YouTube. I don't know why. It's a banana. That's why.
Because nobody else has seen such a thing. Like, that's something you don't see every day.
There was a period where every day I would look, there were just like 100 to 200 new viewers. And I was like, nah, this ain't right. They didn't like me a lot. So that's good. I don't like when people like me.
Okay, now realistically, you've been doing this about a year or so now, as far as being a regular, and most of your matches have been against the Pittsburgh regulars and that kind of thing. About WrestleMania weekend, you and Joe Murphy were in a tag match with the Outfielder. Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh man, it was really exciting and fun. Maybe a little scary. It was only my 6th match, and I wasn't nervous about it. But then Joe may have mentioned that a few too many times to the Outfielders. But no, it was a great match. It was not a great match, but it was a fun match. We only had 10 minutes to prepare. WrestleMania weekend was a really weird experience. Our venue was locked up until about 10 minutes before the show started. And I went on second. So for that being one of my first matches, it was like a really thrilling experience. And being from Philadelphia, it's, I think, one of 2 times I've actually had people I know in the audience. So it was really cool to perform in front of them. And I loved working with the Outfielders. Like, I felt like it was a nice little crash course early on. I have nothing bad to say. Like, I worked only, like, the Anderson brothers are some of my favorite people, and we worked them almost my entire first 4 months. So that was like kind of that one little break we got to like see what else like goes on in tag team wrestling. It was like our first like straight up tag match, because we were doing a lot of gimmick, silly stuff before that.
I was actually planning on going to that show, and if I would have realized that your building could be locked that late, I probably would have. But I got to town late going, I'm going to miss the beginning of the show. Shit. I didn't realize.
Our time changed like 3 times. That was actually a problem with my friends. I was actually supposed to go to the Stardom show that was happening on the other side of town, but then we got bumped earlier in the day because of noise ordinances. So I had to sell my tickets and just be like, all right, $880, let's do it.
Yeah, I remember, I can't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Derek or somebody there was telling me like the venue was locked all the way up until like a certain time, and like they had to rush to get everything ready. And it was just like a whole big hectic craziness. So
I think we were genuinely concerned if the ring was going to be together by the first match. I've never experienced anything like that. Well, one time, my brief stint with CZW, my first chant where I think people chanted "fuck you" at me, it took us an hour and a half to get a Cage of Death up. Hour and a half. I think at 11 o'clock they were ready for the main event. Then 12:30 it started.
oh my god, yeah.
So
That sounds like a deserved fuck you chant.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you feel bad. You're like, I'm just a student. I'm trying to put barbed wire in. And they're like, fuck you.
Yeah, that PPW crowd, all right.
Oh, yeah. Flyer skate zone.
All right, so who's out there right now that you want to wrestle?
So many people. I think with the buddies, I love what we do. I love our shtick, but it does limit us sometimes from working with certain people. I love Gianni, Michael, and Rico, and I just got to face them for the first time just like a couple weeks ago. And I think the Dreams, Psychedelic Dreams, are a big one with the tag teams in 880. We've somehow never faced them. I don't even think I've ever faced Aleo on a televised match, which I love. I love having matches with Aleo, so that'd be so cool. Yeah, but there's just a lot of great talent coming in. With our routine, when I say people, I don't necessarily mean their custom match. Like, Mikey Montgomery, he all just gave a great award to. He's been training down at 880 some. And, I think the comedy stuff that he even just did at Enjoy the other night was so damn good that I'd love to do a 5-minute anything with him, promo, anything. It was so enjoyable. And TME, I know that sounds like a weird one for buddies, but we would love to face TME.
I think you have to get better by working with TME. Honestly, they are so good.
They have been one of my favorite tag teams for years. I still think they're one of the few people I get starstruck by. Like, I see Gannon all the time in Duke, and I just go, hi, shake their hands, and I'm like, love you guys. Thumbs up. I'm going to go over here. I'm too shy.
Ironically, they won our tag team of the year last year. So, and they were very shocked that they actually got plaques for it. So, and one of the few podcasts that actually does that.
Very nice.
So, speaking of Enjoy, you got a nice little memory from it.
I did.
How the hell did that happen? Because I was there and I didn't see this happen.
It's kind of interesting. I was catching a lot of. I was just on the security team trying to help people with dives, and everyone thought it happened way earlier in the night. But it was just a freak accident. Darius Carter went for a senton over the top rope, hit it perfectly, and when he went to get up, boot shot up, caught me in the eye. Can't really see it unless I do that, but a little bit of purple. It's fading. Kicked the contact out though, so I
saw you with an ice pack at I want to say intermission. I think I saw you with an ice pack, and I was like, "What the hell happened to him?"
I tried being chill about it, and the doctor caught me, and he escorted me to the locker room. People thought I was being kicked out. He went up to me like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm hurt."
Not hurt, trying to be a helpful person.
Now, was that your only wrestling-related injury, or have you had other so far?
I am very lucky that I've not. I hurt my eye at our Christmas show after the match with another stray boot to the eye, and that's all that's happened. 2 stray boots, both when I was not competing. So that's good, I guess.
That's pretty lucky. Trying to think, what else do we want? Oh, so.
Well, I did bring a reading. So at some point, I do have a reading from the empty tag rope.
That is in the contract with the publisher. Yes, you have to do the reading. Yes.
I'd rather everyone pay for the book. I don't like sharing it for free, truthfully, but.
Well, maybe it'll entice them to really go out there and try and find it. So, let's talk about your match with Cool Ass Andy.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that match?
It's the introduction of the empty tag rope. That is what I remember. It's the first match I ever had the empty tag rope with me.
There you go.
It was weird. So that was an interesting period because Joe Murphy just randomly couldn't make several shows in a row. So those are the handful of singles matches I've ever had. Went up against Andy. We had a quick match. I don't remember too many of the details. I think I broke out a reverse DDT at one point and used the book, and that's about all I remember.
I think Andy would agree with us that get that match was cool.
We wanted to do so much more with him. That was kind of the only bummer of it. Andy had been out to 880 the month before, and we had this kind of whole little idea between me, him, and Joe. And Joe couldn't make the next show. Andy couldn't make the one after that. So it just kind of ended up being that little one-off we did. But it was fun for what it was. It would have been cool to do more down the line if he's ever back down at our new venue. But yeah, it was a fun experience. So like during the pandemic, I actually moved out to Michigan. I'm in Pittsburgh now, but my wife is from Michigan. So we moved out there. And for the longest time, my actually connection to wrestling was just AIW. My Pittsburgh friends and I would just meet in the middle and watch there. So love their whole crew. I love when they make it out to Pittsburgh. Just some really cool people out there, including Andy and so many of the other folks.
One of your nicknames, according to Cage Match, is the Gentrifier.
That is true.
I don't remember this being a thing. Why were you the Gentrifier?
You know, the Gentrifier thing is from the very early days. It predates the book. And I think I didn't lean into it very thick. A lot of it came from the Kombucha Antics. You know, I was going out there, I was pouring people's beers out. I was telling them, drink more kombucha, beer sucks. We need to have a high class society here in pro wrestling. And I just went, you know what? I'm going to gentrify New Kensington. I'm here to force out this old way of life and make it something that befits my corporate interest with Buddies Inc. And that's really just where it came from. Just the idea that I will say I lived in Ann Arbor for a little bit, and Ann Arbor is a little bit of an uppity area. My neighbors did a lot of they're politically aligned with me, but they did so much performative theater about what their stances were on things. And I found it so silly. And I think a lot of that was going into that early conception of what I wanted my character to be. I wanted to be this like really over the top hipster who is very aware. I'm just going to turn this into something I want it to be. Like, oh, you guys have a great thing here. I'm here now, though. So it's for me now. So
you should have gotten David Lawless as part of your cause. You might have done better because having a lawyer like him involved is the smart move.
Love David Lawless. I wish he would have represented me. I tried. I was a big DNC fan.
He represented me when I took my house from my grandmother, so I very much approve of him. No, he's. I always love running into Lawless. I was glad to see him back in the locker room after his, recent injury. It was so cool to have him back at the December show. He's like a great person to just pick the brain of. He's been doing it for so long and so well. Like the man just grabs a microphone and everyone hates him 2 minutes later. Oh yeah, and that's what I want. So it's hard not to watch him and admire it. His interview with us is like one of our all-time highest downloaded episodes. It's one of my favorites. He's really good. He's a riot. It does not surprise me. He's so good. I like some of the real world stuff he got into too, defending the shirt company against Cornette and stuff like that was awesome. So I'm glad he got to do that. So well, I guess we can get into your reading. Yeah. All right. So I usually just pick a random excerpt. This one is from chapter 13. For anyone who doesn't know, the empty tag rope is loosely based on true events from 880 Wrestling. Detective Joe Murphy is our hero, and he is investigating the disappearance of his tag team partner, Carter J. Collins. So this kind of opens at Diamond Beach. All right. The first thing Detective Joe Murphy noticed about the spot was the smell. The strong, sour stench of the Allegheny River collided with the smells of rowdy partygoers. Sunscreen, beer, pot. Would anyone even notice if a body was decomposing here? The self-proclaimed beach more closely resembled a level from the Street Fighter game. Bloodthirsty patrons sat atop rusted boats, buses, and construction equipment. Loud music blared from a large metallic shack nearby. This didn't seem like the type of place Carter would frequent, but this was where the breadcrumbs stopped. The Den of Desire knew something, and with some guy named John, he was going to figure out what. Around the ring were scattered an assortment of aquatic-based weaponry. The Den would only talk if buddies met them under their terms. Wet and wild. Was this match type a new twisted game by the Den of Desire or some lighthearted summer fun? Marco Narciso, Blizzy Blake, and Honey Darling had only been teaming for a short time, but they were making a big impact, an enigmatic trio that had shown their viciousness to anyone wise enough to underestimate them.
Joe knew this might go sour fast. The buddies were outnumbered and out of their element. The den of desire claimed to hail from the purple clouds, the primary exports, G-strings and ganja. The den lived as high as Blizzy flew, but Joe knew he could end up floating face down in one of those scattered kiddie pools if he thought this in any way dulled their killer instinct. We'll stop there. I don't want to give you too much.
That has me very intrigued. I'm curious what the den is up to there. That's interesting.
Well, a lot of this is about the missing tag team wrestlers. Spoilers. We talked about this a lot. We went through a period where everyone vanished. They were replaced by some really terrible imposters, but we since found everyone. Joe's a really good detective. Tatiana's back. We just saw Chaz. So we're really good at what we do. Probably going to sell another book soon. I've been working on a romance novel about Clayton King, our new buddy, and hopefully I'll have it ready for Valentine's Day.
The description of the smell of the Allegheny River was fantastic, by the way.
So what made you decide to write a book?
Oh, well, I was a writing major in college. My initial life plan was to be an English major, and I used to publish short stories during my 20s. And then I guess I took a break from it, and I went, I'm not really writing right now, so I need a different outlet. And I found wrestling, and then somehow wrestling led me right back to writing. But I wanted to have more fun with it. The writing I did was very literary. I tried to be highbrow, whether it was or not. Most people would probably argue it wasn't. But, I don't know. We had this 1 week where there was nothing for us. We had a random tag match. I think it was against Keith and Tati, actually. And I thought it'd be a fun idea to make a bunch of missing posters it was Keith and Nick's. And I made a bunch of missing posters for their tag partners because they were both out hurt. And I hung them all around the building before the show started. Just made a big to-do that something was wrong in 880 Wrestling. We had to find the tag team partners. It popped a few people, and 4 weeks later, it was like on the card, Detective Joe and John do a detective bit. And I was like, I like it, but there's something else to it. I don't want to be the fashion police. That's already been done. I was like, Joe, I got it. In the 4 weeks since we last talked about this, I have written a novel about you, Detective Joe Murphy, and how you've already solved all these cases, even though they're not solved. And we just kind of went with it. I had the cover made. I had a book out by my match with Andy, and now it's just a fixture. This was the unofficial third buddy before we had a new buddy. Joe does still make the author picture on the back. There's a full description of the novel. But yeah, a lot of it just came from the fact that we were trying to find our spot. Buddies Inc., we've always really played well with the friendship stuff, and we had so much fun with the Andersons. But once that initial kombucha versus beer stuff was done, I feel like there was a little bit of a question of, all right, well, where do we use these guys? Like, who else is working with buddies? And we had to figure that out for ourselves. And a lot of it was whoever we were facing just kind of reaching for straws in those opening promos to something somebody would latch onto and go, hey, do you want to do that again next week? And I think the book was one of those ones we just had so much fun with that it stuck a little more than some of our other routines.
I think it's really unique too that you guys have like a weekly outlet to go out there and try different things and like work on stuff like that and be able to come up with stuff like that. Because there's there's very few wrestling promotions that do anything weekly. So having that ability, can you kind of talk about how being able to wrestle weekly has like affected like building your character and stuff like that?
I mean, it's been so phenomenal. I mean, that's why my name is some guy named John, to kind of loop it back to the beginning. So when I joined 880 Wrestling, I actually replaced Marco Narciso as the announcer of the brand. Marco was just debuting against Steel Dragon, and they needed someone to announce. I was the new student. I'm losing my voice now, but I usually have a very good, deep voice, and they're like, you can do it. And I didn't expect to do it, so I didn't have a ring name. They threw some guy named John up on my my little nameplate, and I just rolled with it. I've cut a couple promos about it over time, but I think the one thing, maybe the biggest lesson I've learned about like doing a weekly show is even the people who are there every week don't remember half of it. So my entrance bit is that almost turned into a bit of a summary when I'm coming out, I'm just trying to remind you, like a previously on Buddies Inc., we called Tatiana a clone. We said Keith can't keep a tag partner. They hate us. Let's all boo us. Come on, let's do it. And I think we're still fine tuning it now that we've added a third buddy, but it's just been so interesting to get that week to week reaction. And we've had some opportunities to go to some other weekly shows. We haven't made it back on a week to week basis, but it's fun seeing what works at 880 that translates well over to Michigan or doesn't translate well. And more of it did than I thought, which was really cool. We went down there with the Den of Desire, separate cars, of course, a few months back. And, the crowds were just like really into both our acts. And it was really encouraging, just like, because they had no idea who we were going into this. And by the halfway point of the matches, they were like, yeah, we love this.
Yeah, that's definitely got to feel good.
No, I was just saying, Joe actually just went back to Michigan 2 weeks ago to face Jackson Stone. And the fans actually were chanting at him, like, where's your friend John? Yeah, you don't have your buddy with you? I was like, I didn't remember that.
That's great. Now, I love the fact that you do have that weekly outlet, though, but years ago, I was working a bar show every week, and compared to that fucking bar, building a new Kensington looked like fucking Madison Square Garden.
Well, we retired that building.
I know.
We're done.
Yeah, I know, but still. Yeah, but you learn a lot working weekly, especially when you're working in front of the same crowd. You have to change it up. You have to keep it interesting. You can't do the same thing and expect it to work week after week, but you're getting that same crowd week after week.
Yeah, like you pull the same trick, they've already seen it.
Speaking of, you are moving to the south side of Pittsburgh. I've seen some pictures of the place. Are you excited for this move? Or are you going to miss New Ken? Or
I live around the corner from the new venue, so I am not going to miss New Kensington. I actually, right before I did this, I took a 5-minute drive just to check how the first practice there was going. I knew I couldn't make it, but I was like, I just want to see the ring. It's coming together great. I think this spot is really good for us. I think back to before I started with 880, I've never been a big driver coming from, like, I grew up in downtown Philly, so I didn't drive till I was 30. And even when I did drive, I hated it. So before I got involved with 880, if there was a show outside the city, you had to pull my teeth to get me to it. Like, I went to nothing. I turned down going to 880 on multiple occasions. Before I was at 880, I went, that's too far. I don't do that. So for me on a personal level, like, I go, all right, literally, we've just removed the hurdle that used to keep me from going to the shows, that used to keep my friends from going to the shows. So I think the growth potential is huge, and it's just a different crowd. And our old crowd, like, they're coming too. Like, they've already all told us they have cars planned. I think it's a good refresh, a good new energy. It's like almost coincidental that it's starting around year 3 of Thursday night fights. But I love that space, but I do think we outgrew it. I mean, there were some building issues, I think, that weren't holding up as much as we would have liked. And yeah, I think we're going to be more comfortable here. It's going to be an adjustment period, but I think the shows are going to be bigger. They're going to be louder. It's going to be easier to go to the bathroom for just so many little reasons. Like, we have a 6-pack shop around the corner now.
nice.
If somebody wants to go get a beer, they're not going far. They don't have to go to Voodoo and buy a $20 4-pack. So I do think we've made the shows a lot more accessible. And that's going to be great. I think the nervous part, and this is maybe what I'm more excited about, is that it is a whole new audience. It's something I've been talking with everyone about. Like, we can't take for granted that anyone knows anything about us, especially in the South Side. It's a party area. People are going to get drunk. They're just going to wander in, probably going to be a little disruptive. But I'm excited to kind of tune the act and see how I can get these people who maybe aren't diehard wrestling fans to react the way I want them to.
All right. I mean, if enjoys any indicator of like how the crowd can be there with just like almost like a party crowd, where they're not super diehard wrestling fans and they react to certain stuff, it'll be a good time. Because if you just get the right crowd where they're having a couple beers and they just want to watch some wrestling like that, it seems like the funnest time you can have as a wrestler, just kind of pulling out the basic stuff and watching them just go crazy for it. So
I mean, I think it was on our last episode, I wasn't in this match, but we had something between Brandon St. James and Dev Swayze, and we just had a basic kick out the heels spot. but the crowd was just so lively that night. They reacted like it was WrestleMania. It was so crazy. We're like, what is going on? Everyone's like, yeah, get those guys out of here. And we were like, this is the best. It's just such a good feeling when, even though you're doing something that maybe you've done a dozen times, you've seen a million times, if you do it just right with that right crowd, it can feel so fresh.
And those are actually my favorite shows to work when you just got that crowd that they're just there to have fun. They're not even necessarily wrestling fans. You don't have to do much to get the crowd into it, but if you can do something on top of just getting the crowd into it, it makes it even better.
It's like I took like a really long hiatus from going to shows. And I think it was just because I stopped having fun. There were so many shows that were doing those, like, we have 9 super indie 40-minute matches, especially near Philly at the time. We were, home to Chikara. Ring of Honor was not too far out of town. So it just wasn't my style. I love those matches, but I need buffers. And I think I went to some bad shows and it burnt me out a little. Until I started going to AIW and Joy, I'd kind of cut most indie wrestling out. I think I went to NXT shows and that was about it.
You got anything else, JHawk?
I don't.
I don't really have much else either. You got any other plugs, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just once again plug the new home. We're at 1010 Freiburg Street, live 8 p.m. in the South Side, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Streaming on all platforms through indiewrestling.us. And it's going to be a really good time. Everyone's competing. There's a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline I can't talk about. So I just say, stay tuned to 880 Wrestling. I can't get over enough how excited I am about this move and the few glimpses to what we have planned. You put MV Young into space and he can turn it into a cool venue. It's like you see that glisten in his eye and you're just like, oh no, he's got this. And I think it's I missed that with 880. So it's really phenomenal watching that happen with One Up. I don't think it's going to look like the same space by the time we get to summer. It might be incremental, but it's going to be so freaking cool. I'm really excited for the transition. We might have a new book soon. We'll see. That's about it.
And the after parties are at some guy named John's house now that it's 5 minutes away from the venue. So
I think we're leaning towards Rutgers. We'll see.
Yeah, letting people know where some guy named John lives is probably a bad idea as long as they hate him.
Oh, come on now. It'll be it. Nobody would spray paint anything mean on his place of his residence. Come on.
I'm worried about the Molotov cocktail going through his window.
I've only been recognized one time, and it was at a Sheets, and he butchered my ring name. I'm trying to remember. Oh, he made it really offensive. He thought I was some uncle called Tom. And I went, no, please never say that again. Never. I'm ordering a sandwich and waiting for it. He's like, you're that wrestler, right? I go, yeah, oh, yeah, man. He's like, some uncle named Tom. I went, no, God, please don't say that. I count it as a recognition. You got some words right. Totally lost the intention. Maybe that's when I lessened the gentrifier shit stuff. That might have been when I went scale it back, focus on the book.
Yeah, I think you should just write detective novels. Don't try to gentrify any places.
Not really related to that, but I remember one time, a running joke when I first started dating my wife, everywhere we'd go, I'd run into somebody I knew. Either I'd run to another wrestler, or I'd run into a fan who recognized me or whatever. It happened everywhere we went. And we went for a weekend away, somewhere I don't normally go to, and I got recognized. She went, what the hell?
That's great. My wife hates wrestling. She's very tolerant of me doing it, though. I need to say that. So super supportive. But before we were dating, we used to work together years ago at Whole Foods, and she would sometimes make fun of me to people about my interest in wrestling. I remember, and she maybe had a crush on me, but I remember I was talking to one of my good friends about, probably just whatever happened to Raw. And this girl had a crush on me walked up, and my wife just walked by. Not my wife, not my anything at the time. Just said, they're talking about wrestling, right? And then just walked away. I was like, oh.
Damn.
And now it is so much of her life.
Now you get that revenge.
Does she ever go to any of your shows, or does she just stay home and I don't want to have anything to do with it?
So I have 3 kids. So it's hard, but she has. Taco Mania with Enjoy was actually the first time she made it to one of my shows. So that was really cool. The second one they did over in the North Side. I was in a battle royal for that one. That was a lot of fun, honestly. And she made it just in time for the battle royal. She actually had my copy of the empty tag rope, and I was hoping she would make it in time. And I don't think they've released it on Patreon yet, but as I'm entering to the ring, if you pay attention, I don't have the empty tag rope. And at one point, she just passes it off to me, and I just pretend I had it the whole time. And Toddy and Ziggy watched it for me over at the commentary booth, made sure no one stole it.
I'm wondering if Ziggy gave you some notes. They gave you some notes in there on what was written in there.
I tried to keep pens away. I don't like people writing in my book. I'm the only one who signs the empty tag rope. Joe Murphy's acceptable as well. Clayton King is allowed to sign friend of some guy named John and Joe Murphy. But that's it.
Anything else you wanted to plug?
No, that's it for now. I think right now my focus is so 880 wrestling in this move. This has been such a weird week, and Joy was such a good time during Ring Crew for them. And now going into the new year, it's a little bit quiet. I have 880 wrestling on the horizon, and then I don't think I have any other bookings planned until April. So I probably don't want to get into those yet. They're 4 months away. But yeah, I recommend everyone check out the show. We're going to be doing more house show style shows and other shows at the new venue too. So follow us on socials. Some of my favorite matches I've had are out the 880 house shows. They're I don't know if they'll still be this, but at the last venue we did a lot of concerts / shows. One band would play. We'd have one match, then a band. And they're a really cool way to see people experiment. They don't necessarily do anything they usually do at 880. The house show audience loves me. I'm their cool guy. At least one time.
Sure.
One time. Mm-hmm. I said really nice things. If I want an audience to like me, I'm still the same. And I just say somebody gave me a joint in the back and suddenly I'm feeling good. And then I say a lot of nice things. And it works every time. I just go, usually I hate all of you, but I'm going to be honest. Somebody gave me something in the back and I'm having fun. Let's party, people.
It was probably Marco. Let's just put that out there. Marco. I ran into Marco at Enjoy and had somewhat of a conversation. I don't think Marco even saw me while we were having this conversation. But yeah, so it was a very good day. Very good day.
I feel like Enjoy is just such a good time every time. I don't know if I've ever had a bad time at their shows.
I never have, and it was Jared's first time on Saturday, and our other friend Will, and they had a blast. So I'm glad that the hype lived up. The hype that we've talked about on the show multiple times about the show being a vibe was definitely a vibe. We were singing to some what songs were we singing, JHawk?
They played My Girl right before the show started. I was jamming to that.
We're sitting there just singing My Girl, and then at the end they played Going to the Chapel and Gonna Get Married, and we were just the perfect song choices. Whoever had the playlist had a really great playlist because it was just it sets the vibe.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what Enjoy is. It's a vibe. That's why I was almost excited to see it go back to Mr. Smalls. Stage AE was so cool, but there's just something home basey about that. We're all right, this is the Enjoy I fell in love with from day one. It's cool to see it look like this again. I can't wait for it to come out. I was trying to explain the Billy Dixon promo to someone. And I was you know what? Just watch it. I can't talk to you about it, but it cracked me up. I was holding an ice pack, just dying laughing by the door.
So I think Enjoy just needs to make one of their shows this upcoming year and just call it It's a Vibe. I think that needs to be one of their show titles this coming year. That one's for free, guys. Scotty and you guys, you can use that for free. Just hook me up with a pair of tickets or something, for it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I will say we on this show have definitely had some opinions about Billy Dixon, but ever since he turned heel and Enjoy, he's been fucking good.
Yeah, he's been really fun to watch.
I liked Billy Dixon as a face, but I'm obsessed with heel Billy Dixon. So good.
He wasn't happy with some of our opinions on one of the shows that we talked about him on, and let us know on Twitter about it. And ever since then, it's been like we kind of like tiptoe around, like we don't want to upset him again. But like he's been very on point since this heel run and Enjoy. So at least for Jared and I, we have started to secretly enjoy him a little bit. So
Yeah, that he was a highlight for me on this go around. I was very into everything I saw him do. So excited to see where they're going with all that stuff in the coming shows.
Yeah, I could have lived without seeing his bare ass on Saturday, but
I luckily did not see it. So
I had bared ass one time in a match, and mortifyingly, I went to Thursday Night Fights one week, and my children were like, "We want to watch Daddy wrestle on YouTube," and just going through all the matches. They randomly chose me versus Keith Hott, and they pulled up that spot, and they were mortified, but they cracked up. My wife was like, "Hey, just so you know, the kids picked the match where you showed your ass." It very much confused them, but they think it is the most hilarious thing in the world.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Keith's ass several times as well.
You definitely have.
And
I went for Keith's own maneuver against them. I thought I could do it, and I missed. So I've taken Keith's ass many a time.
All right, freaking for one, but
yes.
All right. Before I go here, you follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at JHawk. Instagram every once in a while at JHawk1539. My next booking is January 18th for Real Action Pro Wrestling at the Ohio Urban Renaissance Center, Youngstown, Ohio. Main event for that show will be Dior Castro making his first defense of the RAPW Championship against Ray Stewart. I think there'll be 7 or 8 more matches on that card as well, so check that out. That's where I'll be.
You can follow
Dior's
me.
part of one of my favorite entrances of Buddies. Just throwing that out there. Love Dior.
Dior's great.
You can follow me on my ramblings on Twitter and Blue Sky at Charly_Butters. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Help keep us in the top 180 wrestling podcasts. I think there's like 250 or something, but we get up in the 180s for some reason, so I like that. You can follow our Patreon, patreon.com/IWGuide. We have $1, $2, $5, and $10 tiers. Don't forget about our merch store over at brainbustertees.com. We have really nice hoodies and beanies right now with our logo on them.
If I can cut you off real quick, Butter.
What?
I'll go into Patreon ad free.
Oh yeah, that's right. People have noticed in the last 2 months that they've been getting ads when listening to our show. We are getting a small cut of those ads, and if you would like to go ad free, the episodes are always put up about 4 hours early on our Patreon. So go ahead and subscribe to our Patreon. $2 tier gets you our ad free episodes and a lot of the other content that's up on there. Let's see. Podcast friends, At Odds with Wrestling. The card is going to change. Marks with Mics. Is Hayabusa Speed still a thing? I don't know if it is.
Technically it is, but he hasn't released anything in 3 months. No.
Do you remember any of the other ones that I had him put on this list? Because I don't have an updated list. Main Event Network, the Wrestling Junkies podcast. They're in there. Couple On the Mark podcast. Check out our other friends, the official graphic designer of IW Guide, OKCR Creations.
He did my logo.
Yeah, he did our current one as well. We love Chris. Ohio, Rubber City Toys, Big Starks Brand, Setep Photo, AJ Smalls Photography, Michelle Carter, Jose Rodriguez Photography, Gorilla Press Apparel, and Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, the best barbecue in Ohio. Watch more indie wrestling. Have a good week. Let's start this new year off right.
Don't forget to review and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Find us online at Facebook and Instagram at The Indie Wrestling Guide. And on X or Twitter at IWGuide1.